Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here. Here are the top 10 testosterone commandments to boost your testosterone to well over 1,000 nanogram per deciliter. Right, guys, once again, this is based on over 20 years of experience doing this shit, teaching this shit, coaching people on this, and obviously years and years of digging through the science to weed out all the noise and misinformation online. So forget everything you heard about testosterone. Focus on this 10 rules that you must keep to maximize your T levels and also your net androgen status, which is obviously more important than testosterone. But I have to dumb things down. I have to say 1,000 nanogram deciliter testosterone. I can't say DHT. I can't say NAS, right? And as far as the criteria, as far as the categories, we have gold tier, so that's mandatory, meaning if you mess up on those, goodbye your testosterone. Silver tier, that's crucial, and obviously bronze tier, that's important, very important. Anything that's not in those three tiers is garbage. There's so much garbage on the internet about testosterone boosting from guys who read two abstracts or are freaking 3 years into this, right? So I'm gonna remove all of the noise. I can't stand it. Every time I see a testosterone post, it's nonsense. People just regurgitating what they heard instead of having experience in it and obviously studying it. All right, so let's get started. If you have any questions about your T levels being low, it's going to be due to you breaking one of these laws here. All right. All right, so let's start at bronze tier. Okay, so I'm going to pick. All right, so let's start with status. That's important. Keep in mind, I'm starting everything. I made sure that everything starts with the letter S to make it very easy to memorize. So everything here, I'm going to use a word that starts with the letter S. Status, what that really means is competition. Competition for social status. Why is that important for testosterone? Everyone forgets that testosterone evolved for two reasons: for sex and for war. That's it. The evolutionary purpose of testosterone is to help you pass on your genes, but because humans are a tournament species, meaning we're not monogamous, we're actually polygamous, we had to fight for mates. Your ancestors had to fight to clap cheeks. Because of that, if you look at every other tournament species, every other animal that's part of part of that group, males have to fight for mates. That's the reason why we have sexual dimorphism. That's the reason why men are bigger than women, strong. It's funny, people actually like question. They go, wait, is it true that we're polygamous? Is it true that men evolve to fight? And I'm like, how dumb can you be? Look at a man, look at a woman. Even if you don't know biology, even if you didn't spend years studying evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology and neuroscience like I did, just use common sense. Why do you think men are bigger than women? You think it's by coincidence? Why do you think men are faster, stronger, more energy, bigger hearts, bigger lungs, bigger bones, taller? We evolved to fight. And those who were good fighters were able to pass on their genes. And over time, we used that for hunting and stuff like that. Hunting actually came after we evolved to fight. So long story short, testosterone evolved to facilitate two things: war, so fighting. That's why men love sports. In every country and culture you go to, men love sports. And if you take them out of competition, they will look for ways to compete. Why do you think men are addicted to video games? Look at most video games that men play. It's 90% of the time it's competition based. There's some outliers, of course, right? There's an exception to every rule. There's some guys who like doing other things, but most of the time, men are playing Call of Duty, men are playing RPGs, men are playing fighting games. Men love to compete. And if we don't do it in the physical world, the brain will find a way to make you do it in the virtual world, right? So it's no, and again, you don't have to fight. When I say status, fight for social status, which is what testosterone evolved to do. It doesn't have to be physical fighting. It could be any form of competition. There are studies that show, I made videos about that, huge increases in testosterone from playing chess, from playing video games, from doing math competitions. It doesn't matter. As long as your brain sees that as a way for you to escalate to increase your status, it will increase testosterone, right? So you have to channel. I'm not saying go out there and fight people. I'm not saying go out there and make everything in competition. No, but just find ways to climb up the social hierarchy, finding your ikigai, doing things that you enjoy, while at the same time making the world better, right? That's what I'm a big believer of: channeling your drive to compete, your drive to conquer, channel that into making the world better, right? Then everybody wins. You get to compete, you get to eventually clap cheeks in the future because women love picking men who are high in status, but at the same time, you also make the world a better place, right? So long story short, you have to engage in competitions daily, right? All of these commandments have to be done daily because testosterone fluctuates. It doesn't stay up, it doesn't stay low. It goes up and down based on your environment and based on the food that you eat and all those things. So these have to be spammed every freaking day. Because remember, the body actually doesn't like producing testosterone. It only does it when it's forced to do it because testosterone is costly. And I explained that before. The body doesn't like producing high T. It's very costly. It competes with survival. It competes with the immune system. So the body only releases testosterone when you need it. If you don't need it, you will be low T. And how do you show your body that you need it? Well, you have to put yourself in environments like this one here where the body has to release it. Okay? So first one is status. Compete for social status daily, physically or mentally. Next, we have steps, right? Very important and very underrated. Steps just stands for activity, right? Exercise, cardiovascular exercise, getting your at least 10,000 steps a day, if not more. More is better. Obviously, there's diminishing returns. There's an inverted U curve to everything, but above 8 to 10,000 steps a day, you really start to get the benefits of walking. So now I said steps, but like I said, it's anything that, counts as physical exercise, right? It could be swimming. It could be running. It could be cycling. It could be sparring, right? I believe every man should fight. I believe every man should pick up a martial art. So anything that counts as exercise is going to increase your testosterone. And there's many reasons for that. If you want, I could make another video where I explain the reason why all of those things increase testosterone. As far as the studies, you guys know I have studies for days. Check out my articles. Check out my free book on this. Go to the website. It's completely free. Or join the school community where it's also free for now. It won't be free for a long time, but it's free for now. Join the school community where I post all the studies, all the stuff. Join it. Follow the Instagram. I also put a lot of studies out there. So if you're looking for any evidence to back this up, follow my socials. Let's see. And I also have a free course on school.com. All right. So make sure you walk every day. I tell every man at least 10,000 steps a day. Right. Unless you're doing stuff like swimming. Of course, you can't count steps, but it's still activity. If you have a low resting heart rate, then if you have a high resting heart rate, you have a crappy VO2 max, then you're not doing this right. All right. Next, let's go to, where is it? Where's Ronnie? There it is. Oh, I'm blind in the motherfucker. All right. So strength training, right? Starts with the letter S, strength training. So resistance training, lifting weights. Yes, not only that's going to increase testosterone short term, there's a gazillion studies on this, as long as you don't overdo it, of course. But it's also going to increase your baseline testosterone long term. I also posted a study that showed this in teenagers, in young men, and even old men. And the main reason is simple. Obviously, not only are you going to increase your testosterone from resistance training, but you're going to increase your androgen receptors, which is obviously what matters the most, right? On top of that, you're going to lower inflammation. You're going to improve your health markers. Anything that improves your health markers is going to directly and indirectly increase your testosterone. So lift weights at least 3 times a week, full body workouts. You guys already know. It's been over 13 years now. And I've been right from the beginning. Full body workouts are king for health, for performance, for sports. If you're an athlete, you're a fighter, doesn't matter. The king of all workout splits is full body workouts. Does it mean that you can't do other splits? Of course you could do push, pull, upper, lower, whatever. Do any split that you could stick to. But if you want the best, full body training is king. Not just for muscle growth, but for strength and for metabolic health. So lift weights on a daily basis, full body 3 times a week, and on your off days, you could do like power training. You could do things that are not damaging while your body's recovering. All right, next we have sex, starting with the letter S, sex. So what is that one? So there's 2 things. One is exposure to attractive females. I made many videos about that and posts. Go look it up. That increases testosterone for obvious reason. Remember what I said in the beginning of the video. Testosterone evolved for what? For reproduction. It is a sex hormone. Everyone forgets that, right? It's crazy how when I post studies that show that men that have sex or that are exposed to women have higher T on average, everyone is surprised, especially the semen retention clowns. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, how can you be surprised? It's a sex hormone. Of course it's going to go up when you're exposed to women and you're having sex frequently, right? So the literature on this is clear. It goes back for decades. Men who have sex often have high testosterone. And it's not, correlation doesn't equal causation. No, it's causation, bitch. Scientists are not retarded. Every study, the goal of studies is to find causation, not just correlation, right? So their T levels go up after they have sex, not before. Obviously, right immediately before they're gonna get that spike, but they had higher T levels after having sex, and on the days or weeks where they didn't have sex, they had lower T levels, right? And the studies have been replicated on rats, on monkeys, on humans, you name it. Not only having sex increases T, so there goes all the myths out there about retain your semen for high sex. Nonsense. It increases T. It increases androgen receptors. Unless you overdo it, then you're going to get a decrease in androgen receptors, but then it's going to shoot back up. And again, I've showed that study that a lot of the no-fab semen retention community like to misinterpret, right? So not only are you increasing your androgen receptors, but you're also increasing your T levels as long as you have sex frequently. Another common sense, guys, you think porn stars are low T? Like, just people are so freaking dumb. It blows my mind, right? You think porn stars are low T, and all they do is clap cheeks on a daily basis, busting endless nuts. But Megan, what about prolactin? The body I gotta take a deep breath because people are so freaking dumb. It's called homeostasis. When you increase on a hormone too much, the body will do counter mechanisms to try to bring it back to baseline. So if your T levels are too high, your body will eventually convert that to estradiol, right? The main estrogen. It would also increase prolactin to bring you back down if you're having too much sex. But that's not to lower your T, it's to stabilize it. Because like I said earlier, the body does not like chronically high T, right? You can't be over 1,000, 2,000 nanogram per deciliter forever. It's actually bad for you, right? The inverted U curve applies to everything, right? So prolactin is not to be scared. Another thing that people forget, people just like throwing scientific terms without even knowing what it means. Another thing that people forget is that eating increases prolactin. You're going to stop eating, right? It's a satiating hormone. It makes you lazy and tired to make you stop the activity. Else, without prolactin, you will have sex 24/7 and obviously die. Without prolactin, you will literally eat nonstop and die, right? It's a hormone that keeps testosterone and the other androgens in balance, right? It's actually a good hormone. Men that have super low prolactin, guess what? They actually have health issues and fertility issues. So it's all about context, guys, right? So not only having sex is great for your testosterone, it's a freaking sex hormone, right? But also exposure to female, meaning just being in a room where there's attractive women, being in a place where there's attractive women, ton of data on that. Great for testosterone levels. And sure enough, if you look at one of the studies that I think I posted in the school community and on Instagram, even men, young men who are supposed to be super high T, if you put them in religious institutions or schools where there's no girls, no women, they have up to 40% less testosterone. Let that sink in. That is a huge drop from just being removed from females. And we see the same thing in the animal kingdom. Take males, remove them from females, their T levels go down. Reintroduce females in the vicinity, they don't even have to interact with the females, and the T levels go back up. That's the body, that's the brain saying, okay, time to impress her, time to take risks, time to lower your anxiety so that you can compete for status or clap your cheeks, right? So you guys cannot stay home all day. That's why I always say one of the worst things you could do as a man is staying home all day, right? Because you're not competing for status, with some exceptions, and two, you're not exposed to women. We evolved as hunter-gatherers in tribes, walking around in loincloth and seeing bad bitches all around the village, right? And it kept us motivated, made us want to go hunt, made us want to be the best hunter because the best hunter usually had the most cheeks, right? So you have to expose yourself to attractive females daily. You don't have to interact with them. Obviously, if you interact with them, that's a bigger boost, right? And again, the studies back that up. But just make sure they're around, for all you, but I'm an introvert. Get out of here. I can't stand when people use the introvert excuse. I'm an introvert. Introvert these nuts. Go out there and conquer. All right. Next, we moving to body fat, right? It has to start with the letter S, so I use stomach, right? Look at your stomach, right? Is your body fat too high, right? That's going to go in crucial, silver tier. One of the biggest killers of testosterone is high body fat. In fact, one of the reasons why people think that testosterone goes down as you age, which is a myth, by the way, it's not due to age, unless you're like 90 years old. It's actually due to lifestyle changes and dietary changes that we do as we age, right? Again, correlation doesn't mean causation. And there's a ton of research on this. The TRT industry, obviously, because they want to promote TRT and they want to freaking rip you guys off, that started the whole lie of, oh yeah, after 30, your T levels drop. There's nothing you could do. Hop on TRT, right? Nonsense. Study after study has shown that as you approach 30, as long as you keep your lifestyle habits, as long as you optimize them, you eat well, you exercise, your T levels are not only high, but they're even higher than younger men. Think about that. Men in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I even have studies where I can show you guys men who are 70 years old and who exercise, eat well, don't drink alcohol, sleep, whatever, have higher T levels than 20, 15, 18-year-old men who stay home all day eating nacho chips. Right? You were lied to your whole life because you do not have critical thinking. You believe everything you hear. It came from a doctor. It must be true. It came from an expert. It must be true. Wrong. T levels do not drop with age, except at the extremes. Meaning, if you literally about to die, you freaking 90 something, you literally withering away. Yeah, of course your T level is gonna go down, but everything else is gonna go down, right? And sure enough, if you look at countries where men at age 30, 40, 50 are poor, so they have to exercise against their will because they have to walk to the well, they have to fish, they have to work in mines, they have just as much T levels as the younger guys. Also, if you look at studies that look at hunter-gatherers, men who are 40s and their 50s, who are still hunting or still fighting, still engaged in tribal warfare, right? Because hunter-gatherer tribes do fight, also have the same T levels as younger men. You were lied to by men that are promoting TRT because they're getting paid for it, and also by men who hopped on the juice and want to feel better about themselves. So they tell you, oh yeah, I turned 30 and then I had to get on TRT. Nonsense. You do not need TRT. The only people who need steroids and TRT, I've said this all the time, 3 groups of people that I believe should be on PEDs. In fact, I recommend it, right? Not medical advice, but I recommend it. Elite athletes, people in medical scenarios, and people who are unable to produce T naturally. That's the only time those people should be on PEDs. Elite athletes, medical scenarios, like let's say you have ball cancer or you have AIDS or you have something that just obviously makes it so that you can't produce T, right? You can't keep the 10 T commandments. And the third one is obviously people that can't produce T naturally, no matter what. Those are the guys who should be on PEDs, in my opinion. If you don't fall in that category, you have no business being on PEDs, right? So forget everything else you heard. So back to stomach, back to body fat, make sure your body fat is not too high, right? And of course, as men approach age 30, the body fat starts to increase because we get kids, we settle down, the dad bod kicks in. It happened to me too. It happens to everybody, But it does not have to happen. You can't let it creep up on you, right? So make sure your body fat is not too high. One of the biggest predictors of testosterone is your body fat. Obviously, it's an inverse relationship. If your BMI increases, your body fat increases. I'm not talking about BMI if you jacked. I'm talking about like for the average guy. So if your body fat increases, your T levels will go down. And the reason is simple. A lot of your testosterone is going to convert to estradiol, not to mention that inflammation destroys testosterone. And body fat, excess body fat releases a lot of inflammatory cytokines, right? But it goes both ways. You also cannot be too lean. You cannot be too shredded. I tell people be between 10% body fat to 20% max. Depending on where you store your body fat. Some people look fat as fuck at 20%. Some people look decent at 20%. So 10 or 20 is just a range. Ideally, you want to be in the middle, so around 15%. The closer you approach 20 or 10, the lower your testosterone is going to be, right? Another reason is because your body also needs some amount of body fat to release leptin and whatever. Leptin regulates testosterone, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to bore you guys with the nerdy stuff, but you cannot be too shredded. You cannot be too fat. In fact, that's one way you know that somebody's on TRT or steroids, which is the same, by the way. TRT is steroids. Don't let nobody tell you, my T level was in the normal range, so I'm natty. No, it's steroids. And I explain why. But the reason why if your T levels go, the way you could tell somebody's on TRT or steroids is if they're very shredded, but they still have either high T levels or they have high strength, high energy, something is wrong. Because usually when you go below 10%, your T levels get crushed. Sex drive goes down, energy goes down, the whole 9 yards. So make sure that your body fat is in the optimal range, right? So that's stomach. Next, we have sunlight. Crucial for testosterone, not just for vitamin D. Again, I have a lot of videos and posts on this. Make sure, guys, not only you should be in the school community, right? While it's still free, because it won't be free for a long time. But make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, because I send out all this information. I send the studies, the tips, right? So sunlight is key for testosterone, not just for vitamin D. Obviously, that's important. You have vitamin D receptors everywhere in your body, including your Leydig cells, which is where testosterone is produced in your freaking balls, but also through indirect pathways, right? Such as P53, whatever. Again, I made several posts about that. So make sure you're getting plenty of sunlight, obviously morning sunlight to set your circadian rhythm, right, through your eyes. And also for dopamine and things like that. Yes, dopamine increases testosterone because dopamine lowers prolactin, and prolactin lowers GnRH. So make sure you're getting sunlight through your eyes in the morning, right? And obviously through your skin for vitamin D. You need both. And of course, if you're a nigga like me and you live in outside of where your ancestors evolved, so in Europe, in Africa, right, where the UVB rays are trash and you have too much melanin because you're a dark dude, then you're going to have to supplement with vitamin D, right? Same thing. If you white or Asian or whatever, and you're not getting enough sunlight, usually if you're white, you're getting plenty of sunlight through your skin. That's the whole point of white skin. White skin literally evolved for vitamin D synthesis to in weak UVB rays regions. But if you dressed, if you're covering your clothes or you have high body fat or whatever, you might have to supplement with vitamin D, right? Best way to know is to test your vitamin D levels. Make sure they're optimal. So yeah, get sunlight every day. Next, we have stress. That one is crucial. You have to manage stress, guys. You have to manage stress. Long story short, stress increases cortisol, and cortisol will not just lower testosterone through multiple pathways, but it's also going to lower your net androgen status, right? Your T to C ratio is going to be screwed, right? Remember, it's the main stress hormone. Testosterone is about reproduction, whereas cortisol is about survival, right? And the two things always compete. So make sure you manage stress, and that's both mental stress and physical stress. Mental stress, and when I say stress, I'm talking about chronic stress, not acute stress, right? Acute stress is fine. Acute stress is short term, like lifting weights. That's acute stress, good for you. Running, that's acute stress, good for you. Competing, approaching a girl, even clapping cheeks, that's acute stress, that's good for you. Chronic stress is bad, right? So for example, chronic mental stress would be worrying about bills too much, or worrying about an upcoming project, or I'm a family man, so I'm always worrying about the safety of my family and all those things. That's bad, right? That's actually terrible for your testosterone. Another example of chronic physical stress would be like being sick, inflammation, alcohol, smoking. All of those things will tank your T levels and your net androgen status, as well as your DHT and all that stuff, right? So make sure you manage stress. That is crucial. Next, we have sleep. That is in gold tier. That is mandatory. There's no way around it. You have to get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. The more the better. Of course, there are some exceptions. There are some people out there who could thrive on less than that, but they are the exception to the rule. It is not you, motherfucker. You need at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep, right? The more the better. If you could fit in a nap, go for it. The lucky guys out there who can actually nap, take it. And it's not just duration, it is also quality of sleep, meaning make sure you go to bed around the same time, right? You don't want to mess up your circadian rhythm. Ideally around 10 p.m. if you can. And also make sure that your sleep quality is good. Make sure you're getting those REM sleep cycles, right? Because that's when T levels that's when testosterone is mostly produced. Luteinizing hormone, amplitude, all the nerdy stuff. So make sure you're getting enough sleep and enough quality sleep. If you have sleep apnea, get that fixed, because that will tank your T levels. If you go to sleep at random times, get that fixed. If you're a night shift worker, eventually your body will try to adapt, but it's not optimal, right? Mandatory. You cannot optimize T levels without sleep. Next, we have steak. Again, starting with the letter S. Now, that does not just mean steak. That means fatty animal proteins, right? Steak, eggs, salmon, mackerel, all the fatty fish, oysters, it has omega-3. So any fatty animal protein that is high quality. Make sure you buy my ebook, where it's called the Testosterone Diet, where I go through all the foods that are scientifically proven to increase testosterone. I should say supported by the literature. If you can't afford it, just get the free guide. So steak. Make sure you have a diet that is full of foods that fall in the steak category, right? I'm just saying steak because it's easy to memorize, but it really means red meat. It could be steak. It could be pork. Oh, yeah, the Muslims are going to attack me. Fuck off. Yes, it could be pork. It could be, like I said, I mentioned eggs, milk, right? Milk, counts as fatty protein. Could be lamb, could be bison, any fatty meat, right? As long as it's micronutrient dense, right? You're gonna get your zinc, you're gonna get your carnitine, you're gonna get your copper, you're gonna get your selenium, you're gonna get your saturated fat, your cholesterol. Remember, testosterone is made from cholesterol. Everything is gonna be in there, right? It's one of the best things you could eat. Now, don't take it to the extreme, right? Everything that I mentioned here follows an inverted U curve, right? Everything here, if done to the extreme, will actually do the opposite. So don't join the carnivore hype. It's nonsense, guys. I think I should make a video debunking that nonsense. The carnivore diet is so overhyped. See, this is why science gets a bad rap, because science will show that something works and people will just take it out of context, right? And you find out why in a minute. You need carbohydrates, especially if you're active. But Megan, carbohydrates are not essential. Stop regurgitating everything you hear. Something not being essential doesn't mean it's not good for you, right? Creatine is not an essential nutrient. Obviously, it has benefits, right? You guys just think for once. Brings me to the last one, which is in mandatory tier, and that one is sweets. What do I mean by sweets? That's any plant food, right? So this is where you gotta find balance, right? The carnivores go too far to one side. The vegans go too far to one side. You need both. So sweet stands for any plant food that is high in micronutrients, right? Potatoes, quinoa, obviously fruits, and also plant derived, plant derivatives, right? So even honey is in there, even though technically honey is not a, it's not a plant, but you guys know what I mean. The bees, they get it from the nectar and all that stuff. So honey, any sweet, right? So that's plant-derived foods, and even fats, right? So avocados, monounsaturated fats. I'm just using the word sweets because for the most part, they taste sweet, right? Depending on how you cook them hoes. So make sure you're getting enough carbohydrates, not just in quantity, but also in quality. Why? Why do we need plants? Simple. Antioxidants. Antioxidants, antioxidants, antioxidants. Remember I said earlier about how inflammation is one of the biggest killers of testosterone? Well, guess what lowers inflammation? Antioxidants. Guess what food sources are highest in antioxidants? Plant foods. Of course, you could get some antioxidants from, meat, but you're going to be deficient in vitamin C. You're going to be deficient in boron. It's going to be hard to get vitamin E. It's going to be hard to get enough potassium. I could go on and on, right? It is very hard to get all your nutrients from just meat sources. Even the people who tell you, I'm on the carnivore diet and I'm fine. One, they're on TRT. A lot of them are on TRT. Two, the ones who are not on TRT, they're supplementing with stuff that comes from plant foods. It drives me insane. How can you say, I'm on the carnivore diet, but you're supplementing with shit that comes from plants? You're not on the carnivore diet, bitch. You're on the omnivore diet. Right? Same thing with vegans. I'm on a vegan diet. That's all I need is plant foods. But then they're supplementing with B12, and a bunch of other stuff. And even creatine, a bunch of stuff that comes from animal sources. I can't stand those people. Everyone wants to be extreme because that's how you go viral and that's how you make money, right? But they don't care about giving you guys actual correct information. If you look at randomized control trials, people who eat a combination of animal products and plant foods are healthier, live longer, right? Look at athletes. Look what athletes eat. If the carnivore diet was extreme, athletes who spend 99.9% of their life trying to optimize performance, strength, speed, VO2 max, whatever, would be on a carnivore diet. They're not. Because the ones who do, except for the tiny, tiny exception, the ones who do get smoked. Same thing with vegans. I know a strong man who's vegan. Yeah, how many of them though? Stop picking outliers and using it to generalize. Okay? There's a reason why you want to find a diet that works. Look at what athletes eat, because athletes are the peak, the pinnacle of human performance. They know what works. They've spent their entire lives they spend millions of dollars hiring experts. They test things that you don't test. They hook up a bunch of wires to their heart, their brains. They do everything to optimize performance, to get an extra 0.01% boost. So don't you think those people, right, who spend their entire life looking for the best diet, the best methods, will be following your stupid ass recommendation? Semen retention this, vegan diet this, carnivore this. It's all nonsense, guys. Do what has worked for generations and what is also backed up by the scientific literature. So make sure you eat your carbs, right? Else your SHBG is going to be too high. Your inflammation is going to be high, right? Not to mention your cortisol is going to be high after training, right? Studies have shown that over and over again. Another benefit of carbohydrates is they are the number one, not number two, not number three, the number one source for replenishing glycogen. You could do it eventually without carbs, but it's going to take a long time and it's going to require an increase in cortisol, which is catabolic, right? So anyway, again, like I said, I should make a separate video explaining why each commandment is important, but these are the top 10 most important testosterone commandments in order to maximize testosterone production and also net androgen status. So your DHT, your DHEA, your DHEA sulfate, and also to lower your cortisol, your estradiol, put it back in range, balance your SHBG, blah, blah, blah. That's what I mean when I said net androgen status. It's the ratio between your androgens and your anti-androgens, right? So if something is wrong with your life, your T levels come back too low, look at this list, right? Look at this list and see what you're doing wrong on a daily basis. All right, guys, hope this video helps some out. Don't forget to join the school community.